weight into the feet. And feeling the leg muscles also holding onto the leg bones. And then sinking the tailbone. So there's a feeling of creating a bit of length through the back of the hips, back of the waist. And let's go up the back body. We'll find the space between the shoulder blades, lifting up, the back of the neck, lengthening up, back of the head lifting up. And then bring the attention back down through the body to the feet. And let's add a little more weight along that inside line from the base of the big toe back into the heel. So start to press down a little more at the arch. And so start to lift the outside edge of the foot a little bit as we take that weight more on the inside of the arch. And then let's shift that. So just release the foot and let the weight spread outward. So as you spread the weight outward, still tuck the tailbone. You might feel work through the hips there. Let's go back again in toward that inside line. So as we do this, just be sensitive to the knees. We don't want to create a lot of lateral stress at the knee, a lot of side to side stress. Once or twice there, just to get that strange feeling of the weight going wide and the weight coming in close. Now, next time we pass through center, just relax into even weight through the foot. And then being aware of the thigh muscles again, lifting the kneecap. And then coming into the low belly. And we use the fingertips just on the abdominal wall, gently drawing the abdominal wall inward. Okay, and then let's go to our breath. When we're ready to, the fingertips are low. And the inhale, we come straight up the center line, with the hands up there around the collarbones, elbows high, arms spread, and the exhale brings the arms down. And we're going to take one more. And then going back down to our feet. When we're ready, the heels float up. And then back down. And then the toes lift up. And last time for lifting the heels. When they return, let's lift just the big toes. And then reversing, big toes down, other toes are up. A couple more times, back and forth. Now, especially as we work with the toes, we're actually using muscles all the way up into the hips. So experience what the tailbone's doing. Sometimes it wants to stick backwards rather than drop downwards. And then when all the toes come up, let's just pause, keeping them airborne. See if we can open them apart. And then let's return them down onto the mat. I'm going to dig them into the mat, left and right. And then just neutral, release the toes, release the whole front of the foot, re-engage in the legs. And then let's take a big inhale, sweeping the arms outward, going wide, coming up tall. And just reach up through the fingertips, really imagine touching the ceiling, shoulders coming off of the ribs, the shoulders trying to reach the ears. At some point, we're going to breathe out. We'll turn the palms outward. See if we can lengthen the out breath. Breathing all the way into the low belly. And we'll do one more. Okay, when we finish that breath, just swing the heels out, the feet apart, and head for the feet being basically under the hips. We're going to let our knees bend and soften. We're going to put the hands on the hips, and we're going to stir the hips, making a circle. So we let the knees and the ankles move because we've got the hips in motion. And at some point, we're going to switch direction. And coming back into the center, just tucking the tailbone, sinking down a little bit. And then we're going to draw a flat figure 8, looping to one side, through the center, looping to the other side. And when we pass through our center, let's switch our direction. And see if we can drive this from the hips. And then when we come into the center, pausing there. When we get to center, sinking the hips a little bit, let's run the hands down the thighs, just above the knees. Straighten the arms, tuck the tailbone. Lift up at the back of the neck, tucking the chin. And take the navel back toward the back of the waist. And then when we need to inhale, let's lengthen out the back. So hips go downward, chest lifts upward, neck lifts upward, crown of the head reaches out. And when we're ready to switch, again, tucking the tailbone, moving the waist back. So we'll go with our breath. We'll get a handful of these. Want to create length when we're inhaling. So don't stick the tailbone back too much on the inhale because you'll compress at the lumbar vertebra. So we want to get length in the lumbar by sinking the tailbone and lifting the ribs, stretching out between the two. So whenever we get an exhale, we'll just pause in that place for a moment. And then once we've had that exhale and we want to breathe in, now we're going to come up really tall. So when we're ready to inhale, lift the hands off the legs, bring them up in front. And as they get up by the face, start to push up the elbows, push up the shoulders, and draw tall, reaching high, looking upward, letting the hips push forward. And then when we exhale, let's reverse. So the hands get us going. As the fingers drop in front of the face goes down, the upper body rounds over. We come right back down with hands above the knees. And then when we need the inhale, we're going tall again, floating up with the hands. And at some point, the elbows, the shoulders, pull the spine up, lift the ribs, reaching tall, hips forward at the end. And then the arms on the exhale, start the process. Once the hands in front of the eyes, we're going to really round down, landing the hands on the thighs. And let's pause here. So we'll keep the hands low, and we'll get 1 or 2 inhales right in this position, working on length through our spine. When we do take our exhales, just seeing if we can create a feeling in the body of pressing the spine backwards, neck upwards, chin tucked. Okay, we're in our last cycle. So from an exhale, we'll take ourselves tall again. When we're ready to move, the hands start as we're breathing in, elbows and shoulders following, pulling us tall, really reaching up, and the hips forward at the end. And then to leave this place, just looking forward and having the arms go wide and coming down as we're breathing out. So we adjust the hips by dropping the tailbone, seeing if we can keep our shoulders from sinking onto the ribs. Okay. So let's put the hands here on top of the hips. And we come to an exhale. Take our right side back, look behind, release the right arm, point behind. And on the inhale, turn forward, bring the right arm vertical. And on the exhale, run it down the left side. Now just go over as far as is comfortable for the balance. But when we inhale, we bring the hand up the same side of the body back onto the right hip. And we're just going to flow with our breath. We're going to go side to side. Let's do our last cycle. We're going to end with the left side. Okay, and we've done that left side. We're going to move our feet a bit further apart. So think of the heels getting out around the shoulders, maybe a little wider, and then turn the feet in and bend the knees. And we're looking for a stable place in the legs, sinking the tailbone, lifting up the back body. Now go down into the feet and see if you can put a bit more weight at the base of the toes along that inner arch line. And then at the knees, use the muscles to get a feeling of moving the knees wider. Up in the top of the hips, inside, we're clearly activating these muscles. So they both press in and pull up, and you should be able to feel those muscles are engaged. So that gives us very stable hips with an open lumbar. I'm put my hands on my hips, and I'm just going to start to move a little bit side to side. So this will build for us as we keep the hips stable, the legs engaged. We'll start to get more movement going sideways. Okay, we feel some movement here. Let's take the hands a bit higher at the base of the ribs. And then where the hands are, those low ribs, create an internal feeling of pressing to the side into the hand. Stay in touch with the engagement of the legs. And now let's try the arms a little higher. I'm going to release the arms. We'll put the fingertips up on the shoulders. And now there's really a feeling of poking the elbow to the side. And then let's come into the center. Just pausing, checking down through the legs. Where's the weight in the feet? When we're ready, we're going to twist. So the hips and face forward, and then one elbow to the front, then the other elbow to the front. Okay, and then when we're turned forward, just pausing in the center for a moment. And let's release the arms and push up through the palms, get the shoulders to lift, the ribs to lift, the tailbone to drop. And then going wider, pressing sideways. And then let's sweep forward. So we want to feel that we're moving our shoulder blades here. And now the right hand, rotate the fingers upward, inward, and pull the elbow backward and push the left out in front. And then reversing. And looking inside at the legs, the weight in the feet, the engagement in the thighs. Now that forward arm, just take it up higher. And then the forward arm, take it down lower. And then just straight forward again. And then when the right arm's out in front, just bring the left out in front, pressing wide, pressing forward. And then from there, going wide, opening up. And work with the back body. So there's lots of length. And here it's really very easy to ground into the feet, have a feeling of the muscles pressing the knees wide without being harsh with the joint. And then taking the arms up and push for the ceiling. And then let's soften the arms. We'll bring them all the way down. And then when the arms are down, we're going to release the legs. So maybe lifting the heels, straightening the knees, and just walk the feet in. We'll get them close to each other again. And we'll just pick up the knee, one after the other. And then when it's the right knee, have it come up and open to the side. Same for the left. And once more, ending with the left. And then pause here for a sec. Let's see if we can lift the big toes, but just lift the big toes enough to keep contact at the base of the big toe. So base of the big toe pressing down a little, but the toe itself up a little. So you not quite as high as potentially you could get to. And then keeping that on both feet, bring the right knee up. And then we're gonna take the foot side to side. Okay, we're just gonna come neutral here. We're gonna take that foot down. Just release the toes for a moment, maybe wiggle them. Find even weight in the toes. Lift the big toes just enough that they're clear of the ground, but keep lots of weight there at the base of the big toe. And then up comes the left leg. And now the foot goes side to side. We just use the arms as we need to, just to help us keep something like balance going. And then let's come neutral. We'll put that foot down, release the toes, maybe wiggle them a little bit, even maybe lift the heels. And we're going back to the first side when we're ready. So lifting the big toe, keeping weight at the base of the big toe. Now just bend the knee and take the foot back behind, and then the foot waves side to side. And if we want, we can get the arms as well. If we want. It's easier, in a sense, to do the arms and the foot to the same side. Okay, we'll come down and pause for a moment. We're going to have a go at the other side. So big toes lifted, but still weight at the base. And then the foot bends back, the knee bends, foot goes back. Arms are optional, but they're kind of fun. It's summertime. Okay, I'm going to call that set. Plant the feet. And then stepping the feet a bit wider than where we've been. And here we just want to make sure we do have movement at the hip. At our just stance where the feet are turned in, we want to minimize hip movement. Here we want to get movement. So I've got my hands right at the top of the leg, right where it goes into the hips. And I just want to see that they're moving. Okay. So we find that spot. And we're going to now run the hands down the legs. So I'm going to start on my right leg, slide the hands down. Again, going as low as is okay for our sense of balance, our feeling in the head. And coming up when we do breathe in, and then heading over to the other leg. Now, when we're down on that right leg, let's just pause there. And then when you need a breath, use that left hand, sweep it up, lifting tall through the fingers, extending out through the crown of the head. And then that left foot, see if you can just give it a little more weight. And then when it's time to breathe out, bring that left arm down, let the head drop here. Now we're going to take the right arm, but we're not going to lift it up. Instead, we're going to point it over at the left foot. So we're going to stay low when we use the right hand and just point toward the left foot and stretch out. You'd really like to be able to touch that foot. As elusive as it appears to be, we're going to stretch for it. And then let's soften, release. We'll get both hands somewhere at the right side. Have another exhale where we're just releasing the head. And then when it's time to breathe in, bringing ourselves back up tall. So take a breath here with the hands at the belly. Just feel even weight down the legs, and then use the exhale to travel down that left leg. And when we're inhaling, we're going to take our right arm upward, connect to the right foot, take length through the core of the body. And when we're ready to breathe out, melt back down, give the head and neck a chance to relax. And then we're going to work with the left hand. It's going to stay low and reach toward that opposite foot, reaching through the fingertips, looking with the eyes. And then when we inhale, relax, bring the hands both near the foot or ankle, release the head. And we need a breath. We're going to use it to come up again. Okay. So just feel where the weight's gone in the feet and see if you can produce a little more weight on the inner side of the foot rather than all the weight at the outer. And then we're going to turn the right leg in the hip, turn it at the hip and bend the knee. And then we're going side to side here. And letting ourselves stay high or go low as seems appropriate. Keeping the back of the neck long as we take that final stretch position. When we get to our right side, let's pause for a moment there. So I'm going to use my right forearm on the thigh. I'm going to adjust the feet so I do have a powerful place. So this top arm, for the moment, I'm just going to put it on the hip. I'm going to turn these top ribs up toward the ceiling a bit. Look outward, look upward. lengthen the back of the neck. And then I can release that top arm. I'm going to take it wide and up tall. And I'm going to push through the palm for the ceiling. And then on this right arm, the one on the thigh, take some weight out of the arm by using the armpit, lifting in the armpit. And when you've done that, take that arm out close to the ear and just adjust where the gaze is now. We're going to look downward and we're going to reach through the neck and the back of the head. And then let's leave with an inhale. So bring that upper arm up and let's bring ourselves up onto our angle. So for a moment here, we're vertical so we can keep the angle. And then straightening the legs and bringing the arms down. And then we're going to go to the other side. So we bend the knee. We're going to bring the forearm onto the thigh. And we need a moment here to make sure the legs are in the right place. We're feeling strong. Top hand goes onto the hip. And we're going to turn the chest up. Looking outward and upward. We're going to release that top arm. I'm going to take it vertical. I'm going to turn the arm. I'm going to push through the palm. I'm going to lift in this lower armpit. And then I'm going to take the arm near the ear, push outward. And then I'm going to adjust my neck by looking down and reaching through the back of the head. And then I'm going to come out of here with a big inhale, see if I can keep the angle, bring the torso vertical, and then straighten the leg. Bring the arms down. And then just walk the feet back in. Let's just keep walking them in so they're really close together. Okay. So we're going back to working into a couple of balance things. To get there, I'm going to start with my right leg. I'm going to just tap the foot in front of me, out to the side, in by the ankle, and then back behind. So to get that back heel down, I want to do it by bending the front knee. Okay, good. So today I'm going to turn the chest forward. So I'm facing where I was standing in the beginning. I'm going to take my hands up, imagine catching a beach ball, and then carry that ball over towards the back leg, and then drop that ball, keep holding it, but drop the arms low and sweep low and back up as you turn forward. And then turning to the other side, sweeping low, back up. And let's do one or two more of these. What we want to try to do is keep the hands the same distance apart. So the arms, the wrists, the elbows, they're all rotating and moving as well as the core of the body. Now, after you go to the left side, come forward again, pause holding the ball, and then rather than toss the ball back, let's bend over, touch the ball to the ground, put our fingertips on the ground, lift our back heel, and then just slide the weight forward. We're going to keep the front knee bent, but I'm going to shift the weight forward and find a place where I can lift that back leg. Now, we don't have to go super high. About hip height is fine enough. We can go higher if we want, but we really don't need to. The front knee, we don't have to straighten it. We have to work with how the body feels today. What we are interested in, though, is tucking our tailbone a little bit to keep the low back long and reaching out through the back of the neck. So we're always interested in extending our spine. Now, we don't have to stay here a long time, so whenever we're ready to leave, we can bend that front knee, touch that back foot down, put the back heel down, walk our hands in a bit, and then we'll just bring ourselves up. As we come up, might as well straighten the front leg, give it a rest. We have to get this back leg up. We'd like to be where we began. A fun way to do it. We got the right leg behind us, sweep the right arm out and up, let it draw a big circle. And as it drops down and comes through, we'll just use the momentum to bring the leg up. Okay, we get the same thing on the other side. So when we're ready, we've got our left leg, it steps forward, outward, inward, backward, and then we come down. So first we make sure we're stable in our feet. And then imagine catching a beach ball. When you're ready to move, keep it about shoulder height, go toward the back leg, and then sweep low. Now let the arms, shoulders, everything moves through the arms, except we try to keep the same distance between the palms. So let's say we're on our last cycle. So once we come back forward, just pause there for a moment. And then today we're going to bend over. We're going to put the ball down and touch our fingertips. And then lift the back heel and lift the back leg. And keeping the front leg comfortable, whether it's bent or straight. The important thing is that we're feeling powerful. And the important thing too is that we're working with the spine. So a little internal feeling of tucking the tailbone, lifting at the back of the neck and lengthening the neck. And just a couple more breaths. So we can find a place where we feel strong internally, even though we may be making strong demands. Always willing to leave, however, if it's not appropriate. And to leave, let's bend the front knee further, put the back foot down, sink the weight to the back heel, bring the arms closer, and just draw the torso up. So we're going to let this front leg straighten just so it gets refreshed. This back arm, my left arm, I'm going to swing it out, up, behind, and then as it swings forward, I'll just use that momentum to come neutral. Okay. So just for the fun of it, we'll try one more balancing and then we'll have to say that's enough. So let's just see if we can bring up the right knee and grab the hands underneath the knee. And the ankle gets a handful of little circles here. And then when you've done the ankle a few times, try taking the whole foot in a circle. So the pivot point is the knee itself. And gently with the knee. And then if it feels okay to play, I'm going to take my right hand, I'm just going to cup the front of the knee and I'm going to bring it up higher. Now my left hand's available, so I'm going to see what I can grab. My ankle, front or back, my heel, and then if I can get hold of something, I'm just going to stretch that knee higher and that arm out. May have been able to let go with my right hand. So what I'm interested in exploring here is balance and power and not too much strain. Strain's not necessary. When it is time to leave, I'm going to bend the knee in. I'm going to wrap the right hand around the leg again so the left releases. And then I'm going to put the foot down. And just pause for a moment. Feel the weight in the feet. Now, when I want the other side, I'm going to bring up the left knee. I'm going to wrap the left hand around the knee. And then I'm going to rotate the ankle. So really just letting the foot move freely, whatever movement it gets today. And then when I've done the ankle a few times, I can move the whole foot in a circle below the knee. And we've done that a few times. We'll see if we can bring the knee a little higher, and then that opposite hand, reaching the ankle, reaching the foot. And then we're going to explore the possibility of stretching it out. When we've had enough of that, which is probably about now, we're going to bring that leg down. Okay, now we get ourselves down onto the mat. And if possible, just coming into a middle place with the knees bent. Seeing if it's okay for us to come lower. And then from here, whenever we're ready to, we're going to put the hips all the way on the ground. We're going to move the feet out in front a bit. And we're going to let our knees go over side to side. Always getting the feet adjusted where the knees themselves are comfortable. So just making that adjustment for ourselves. And whenever we get our knees dropped over to the right side, we'll make it a bit longer. So this left hip's going to lift and turn a bit more. And then I'm going to take that left hand, I'm going to put it somewhere down on the ground. See if I can work on my fingertips. See if I can be up on my fingertips. Doesn't really matter where this left hand is gone. I want to lift tall and I want to turn and look to the right. So there's going to be more weight on the right fingertips than on the left. And see if you can just press a little more on the left and at the same time lift in the armpits. And then on the inhale, soften, turn forward. We're going to switch sides. So let the knees come up and drop over. Again, here my right hip's going to lift and rotate. I'm going to come to my fingertips, lift in the armpits, and also check the tailbone. A little tucking, dropping at the tailbone, lifting at the back of the neck. And let's repeat when we're ready to go to the other side. Just release the arms. Let's take them over, changing our legs. And just finding a rotation. So tailbone's a little tucked. Now, we're at the right side. The left hip is lifted, but once you've tucked the tailbone and taken a bit of twist, see if you can internally let this left hip sink a little bit. So there's a lot of potential range of motion here. We can explore really carrying it forward. We can explore letting it release down. Wherever we're working with it, see if you can at the same time lower the tailbone. Okay, and let's come back to the front. Switching sides. We're going to take ourselves over to the left. So working with the hands where they're able to go. Always checking our spine. We're always looking to create length in the spine as we explore positions. And then working a little with that right hip now. In this place, seeing if it'll release down a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to release when we're ready. I'm going to walk the hands forward. I'm going to lean back on my palms, undo my legs, and just let them have a bit of a shake. And then once I've done that, I'm going to bend the knees. I'm going to drop them over. So right side, I've dropped the knees to the right, but now I'm going to lower myself all the way down onto my right side. And then I'm just going to rest my head. Basically, I'm just making a fist with my hand and resting my head there. So lower knees the right knee, upper knees the left knee. I'm really low, so I can play with this move with my right leg. Knee stays down, foot lifts. This left leg, the knee's unlikely to be on the ground. It may, but I'm not trying to get it down. And after I've done a bunch of those, I'll bring myself up a little higher so that I do now get my left knee down, get it out of this bright sunny spot. So once that left knee is down, I can then lift it right back up. And I'm going to rest the knee down. So left leg, that was the knee, now left foot. And sometimes it's possible to do this top foot, having myself up higher. Higher I go, the work goes to different places, gets a little more difficult. So we just work with just before our edge, basically. And then on our set, we're going to switch sides. So now I'm on my left side, I'm coming down to the mat. And once I'm there, it's the bottom foot lifting up and down. So I'm assuming everybody can hear that piercing sound. And that's fire alarm testing in the building today. Okay, so when we've done that, lower leg, just let it relax, maybe come a little higher. You want to get this back knee on the ground, top knee, so it can lift up and down again. And then let's relax that leg down. And now try the foot. We can stay low. It may be possible to be a bit higher. Keep the knee comfortable. And just be careful with where the effort ends up, right? We want to stay back from our edge. Okay, last one. When we're done, just shift the weight, extend the legs. Let's lean back, let the legs get a shake. Land the feet. And I'm just going to take my feet long. Actually, what I'm going to do is just a little bit of adjustment here. Okay, feet long, just a little bounce, a little waving. So I'm going to bend in the knees. on the outside edge of the foot. But at the same time, I can see if I can press the arch of the foot toward the ground. And that's just to put the legs to use. I can see if I can gently push the knees apart, but at the same time, the inner thighs try to pull the legs inward. So lots of different muscular action there. So I've got about a fist distance between my feet. I want to lengthen my spine, dropping my tailbone, lifting up at the back of the head. I get an inhale. I take my arms up. I'm going to rotate the arms, push up in the palms. I want to feel my shoulder blades lift up. Check the back of the neck, and then take the arms wider. Maybe the hands forward just a little bit as I look, without moving my head, as I become aware of the periphery of my vision, I can just detect there's the edges of my hands. And then check back in with the spine. Just another breath or two. Okay, now we're going to release. The arms melt down. Okay, let's go to the back. So just putting the back down on the mat, knees bent, feet flat. Just taking a moment to experience the weight, being able to sink into the ground. And then when the exhale happens, add a little tuck to the tailbone and press the back of the waist downward. Whenever we're breathing in, lifting the diaphragm off of the mat. So it'll create a natural arch in the back, and the weight will shift toward the tailbone. Just going back and forth with the breath. And when we have the exhale, just letting the spine release. And then let's reach for the knees, and we'll draw the knees inward in toward the ribs and just hugging onto the knees. And when we breathe out, lifting the upper body, tucking the chin, and lifting toward the knees. And we're going to hold here for a breath or two. And then when we inhale, we're going to rest the head back on the mat. Now keep the knees close. And I've got my hands on the knees. And I'm just going to go all the way over onto my left side. So camera side, probably the best side to use. So I can face the camera. I'm going to come right up onto this lower side. And then I'm just going to use that lower arm underneath my head. So first thing I want to do is get the knees so they're straight out from my hips. A little bit of fiddling there, knees one above the other, and the feet on top of each other and close in toward the hips. So our version of this. And once I've done that, I'm going to use this bottom arm. I'm going to reach it outward and downward and hook onto that top leg and do a bit of fiddling to free up this lower shoulder. And then I'm going to drop my shoulders downward toward the ground. I'm going to come on to the back of the head, so my gaze is upward. you don't have to be fully on the back of the head, right? So you can be angled a little bit, always keeping the neck comfortable. Don't strain the neck. And actually, this isn't a bad place for like a towel or a small pillow, just to level the head. So once I'm sure my neck is comfortable, I want to feel where my hips are. I want them one above the other. I get to this point, I'm going to take this top arm, I'm going to reach it vertical. I'm just going to reach for the ceiling, and then I'm going to bend the wrist and rotate the whole arm, push up at the heel of the hand. And then I'm going to lower this arm just down by my ear and press toward the wall behind me. So keep the tailbone a little tucked. You can feel how the tailbone would like to stick back, perhaps. I want to keep it a little tucked in. And so you may start to feel a stretch around the SI joint. So just monitor that it's comfortable. Keep the chin a little tucked. And now let's take the arm wider out to the side, about 45 degrees off to the side. And as we take the arm out to the side, see if you can let that shoulder blade sink downward. It may touch the ground, it may not, but just release and give it permission to go down. I'm just gently rotating here. So we're deep in the SI joint. We're actually also deep in the shoulder socket. So everything done politely. And then tucking the chin, tucking the tailbone, reaching through that palm. And then we're going to leave this place. So soften the arm a little bit, bring it upward. And then just for a moment, rest it down on that top hip. Let's turn the head a bit more to the lower side, toward the front. And then from here, let's come onto our back. So maybe keep the knees close on the back, but move the feet a little further apart so the knees drop in towards each other. And just give yourself a chance to feel the difference between the two sides of the body. Now we're going to the other side. So let's once again, on the exhale, bring our knees in toward the ribs. Hands around the knees. And when we breathe out, lifting the upper body, we'll curl up toward the legs. And when we come to breathing in, resting the head down. Now hands on the knees, keep the knees touching and drop over onto the other, excuse me, onto the other side. So just in the beginning, just rest the head on that top arm. We'll work with the legs. You've got the knees about hip height. Feet move in toward the hips. And then we're going to release the head down. We're going to take this lower arm, just scooch the shoulder a bit and have that lower hand on the top leg. And then take the gaze upward. Don't have to turn the head fully to be upward, keeping the neck comfortable and keeping the neck feeling open. So just tuck the tailbone a little bit here. And the free arm, it reaches up for the ceiling. And then we're going to bend the wrist and rotate the arm. Push the heel of the palm upward. And then let's lower the arm close to the ear and push outward. And here's where we want to double check that the tailbone is dropping down, that we're keeping the lumbar long and not overextending, pushing the lumbar forward. Pressing through the palm, sinking the tailbone. tucking the chin, and then taking the arm out about 45 degrees, pressing outward, and letting that shoulder start to sink down, the shoulder blade sinking toward the mat. As you sink the shoulder blade down, keep the reach in the palm. And then we're going to release by softening the arm a little bit, and then taking it up and over onto that top hip. And turn the head a little bit back to that lower side, and then bring ourselves onto our back. Keeping the knees close, moving the feet apart, so the knees just drop in towards each other. And just take a moment to have a nice long inhale and exhale. And then when we do breathe out, pull the knees up and grab the knees, this time opening them apart, so they move towards the armpits. And then run the hands down the legs. We'll lift up a bit so we can get down near our feet, hold the feet or ankles. Lift the feet upward, we'll put our head back down. And just a comfortable place here. See if we can get the arms and legs so they support each other. So we can relax the hips and the core body. And just let the breath come into the belly. And then soften the hold, let the hands grab the knees, moving the knees towards the shoulders. And then releasing the legs. Let the feet touch onto the mat. Let the knees drop open. And then that right leg. We've got the knees dropped outward. We can find the outside edges of the feet on that right leg. Just push it long. Once it's straight, push the left long. See if we can let the weight of the legs rest on the ground. Adjust the width, adjust the hips, adjust the spine. Sometimes the spine wants to get stretched out a bit, so do those maneuvers. And let the arms rest away from the sides of the body onto the mat. And then bringing the attention onto the breath. Letting the inhale expand the low belly like a balloon. And gently breathing out as much of the exhale as we can. And then letting go of the breath. Letting the body breathe as it wishes. And just finding a place in the body to experience the act of breathing. And let's move again in our fingers, in our toes, in our ankles, in our wrists. And we get an inhale, reach in the arms, stretch in the legs. And we have our exhale, pull the knees in and take the hands onto the knees and shift the weight side to side. And then send the weight all the way over onto either side of the body. And then we bring ourselves up